I was adopted at 3 months old. I had a dysfunctional family growing up, but I was cared for and loved. Both my adoptive parents passed away in separate car accidents, my dad when I was 17, and my mom 3 years ago when I was 24. I had a semi-open adoption, but my birth parents requested my adoptive parents stop sending them photos and updates about me when I was less than a year old. I had a vague idea of who my birth parents were. I grew up knowing their names and I had several photos of them. I did a DNA test and was matched with 3 full siblings, which shocked me. I was always told they were young and that they barely knew each other and wanted to further their education. About 3 months ago, I decided to Google their names and I found their social media. Turns out they are married to each other now, with 7 more children they had together. I stalked them on Facebook a bit, and it seems like they have a relatively happy life. I was shocked to find out I had 7 full siblings, and that my sister, who is closest in age to me, is actually only 11 months younger. I was even more shocked to find I have an older brother who is not adopted out, who is only a year and a few months older than me. I ended up reaching out to my birth mother via Facebook, telling her that I would love to get to know her, that I've had a great life, and that I have no expectations. She took a month to respond, and when she did, she said she was surprised that I reached out, and to please not contact any of my siblings as they aren't aware of my existence. I didn't respond for a few days, but I ended up just asking her why she chose to give me up, and why never told anyone about me. She responded and said that I was a NICU baby. She and my birth father were 17 when I was born, and they weren't prepared to raise a disabled child. She said at the time they were under the impression that I would never live independently, and that they weren't in a place to have a special needs child. I was again shocked. I definitely was always in the lower price tiles for growth until puberty, but according to my grandmother, by the time I was 8 months old, I was hitting all the markers for regular mental development. I have an MS in mathematics from a Tier 1 university. I was an athlete in high school, and I never had any issues in school beyond being really horrible in art class. I'm married with a child. I'm a fully functioning adult with a successful career and a family of my own. And it hurts to know I was given up on because of the slight chance I wouldn't turn out perfect. Part of me feels like I missed out on a life with siblings and that I could still have a chance to know them and love them, that my daughter would have a chance to have cousins. My youngest siblings aren't even in elementary school yet, and I could have a normal sibling bond with them, or at least be part of their lives from a young age, and I wish that I had that chance. I'm not angry at my birth parents for giving me away. I don't hate them. I'm hurt, but I'm not angry. I am angry that they've requested I not reach out to my adult siblings, and I'm considering doing it anyway. I've now met all of my siblings. What originally turned out to be 7 siblings turned into 8 when I learned I have a full sister who was also an adoptee. I have spent every day for the past 9 days with one of my siblings. I have 3 adult brothers and 2 adult sisters. My sister, who is also an adoptee, reunited with them 2 years ago. You would never know she didn't grow up with them. The 5 of them meshed so seamlessly. I would be dishonest if I said they felt like strangers to me. I feel like I've known the 5 of them my entire life in some ways, despite only a bit more than a week having passed. They call themselves First Batch, and they call our younger siblings Second Litter. It is funnier and more catchy in our language, haha. I am now a part of the First Batch text thread and social media group. It is odd and insane. They're unfamiliar to me in almost every way, but it's more like seeing a best friend after being torn apart by war or tragedy. My oldest biological brother is 29. My younger biological sister and I are both 27, though I will be 28 in a few weeks. My younger sister, who was also adopted, is 25. She will be 26 on the same day I turn 28. The twins, who are the youngest of my grown siblings, are 23. We all have winter birthdays. I cannot imagine what my birth parents went through. My birth mother had 6 children between the ages of 15 and 21. I understand why she adopted 2 of her children. I cannot imagine the weight on her shoulders. 6 of us are adults, and then there is a considerable age gap. 3 of my siblings are minors, a brother who is 12, and 2 under the age of 6. My birth father arranged through my biological grandparents for me to meet the three of them 4 days ago. My youngest biological sister is 4 years old. She is the cutest little girl I've ever met. She came up to me, tugged me down to her level, and then touched my hair. She said, "Do you know you have curly hair?" I nodded, and she told me that now we were twins because we were with only sisters with curly hair. I cried and laughed. My youngest brother is younger than my own daughter. My 12-year-old biological brother hugged me and cried a lot. We are the only 2 of 9 who have brown hair. The rest have shades of blonde and strawberry. He and I are strikingly similar. I'll say this again. It is so odd to see your own face in the faces of others. It's never something I've had, and in the last week and few days, I have been overwhelmed by the shock of sharing mannerisms and features with those around me. I met my birth father. He explained that he was young, and he thought he did the right thing, and he's happy to see I turned out well. He cried more than he spoke. Last night, I video chatted with the first batch siblings, and I met 3 of my first cousins via Zoom. They are a set of siblings, my biological aunt's children. A female cousin and her younger brothers, all close to age as me. They were born and raised in North America with an American father, though one of my male cousins lives in our country. He married a girl from here, and they have a daughter the same age as mine. I will be meeting him and his wife on Monday. My female cousin and I look so alike. I cried when I saw her face on the screen. My siblings and I are all very similar looking. We are clearly related. However, my cousin and I have the same face and laughter. It was so odd to hear an American accent out of my own face. This set of cousins is very close to my siblings. My female cousin is a flight cabin crew. This is the only other career I ever seriously consider besides my own. It is also the same job as my own husband. These little coincidences and likenesses are the things I've been missing my entire life. She has a math degree. She and I have been texting all day today. Apparently, it is a joke among our extended family that her and her brothers look like they belong to my biological parents instead of their own, and I understand why. All 3 of them are brown-haired, darker-eyed versions of my own biological siblings, and in this way, I look more like them. It is so strange to see my face in the faces of others. My husband is excited too, to have a big extended family. We are considered very young in our country to have kids, and now we know other young parents. I'm never going to discredit the love my adoptive parents had for me. They were amazing. However, my childhood was dysfunctional and heartbreakingly lonely. My life has been lonely. Now I feel like I really would have people there for me, for my child if anything crazy were to happen, a support system. We ended up meeting up in a park with our children later that day. 2 of my biological brothers were there. My older biological brother showed me poems and essays he wrote growing up, most titled some variation around the sisters who went away. It broke my heart, and he said he never stopped thinking about me and our other biological sister who was adopted several years after I was. I had breakfast with the same 2 biological brothers this morning. We discovered that my biological grandmother and father live in the same neighborhood as me, and I met them over Zoom. I waved to them from the porch on the drive home, and my daughter did some very impressive cartwheels for them this afternoon in their front yard. My biological grandmother blew kisses and cheered my daughter on. She's now making a quilt. I have plans to meet my biological sister, who is only 11 months younger than me, tomorrow. Along with a sister who is exactly 2 years younger to the day. We have the same birthday. I've now had contact with all my biological siblings that are over 18. My biological sister, who is 2 years younger, was also adopted out when she was 6 months. She is a below-the-knee amputee, and our birth parents felt unable to care for her. We all grew up within 40 kilometers, 25 miles of each other. Both my sisters that I am meeting tomorrow work in the same industry as me. I went to the same university as my older brother. At the same time, though, I don't recall ever meeting him. It's so odd to see your face in the faces of other people. I never imagined that they would want to love and know me, and according to my biological grandmother, I honestly don't care if I never have a relationship with my birth parents. I understand a lot of this is very new, and I don't entirely know if it will all end well. but I have no regrets reaching out. My parents gave me a beautiful life. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and I miss them every day. It breaks my heart that they never got to meet my daughter or partner. I know this won't make up for the loss of them, but I do feel like I have the chance at an extended family. My birth parents apparently married at 18, but had 3 children before they were married. My birth parents on 2 separate occasions chose to adopt out their 2 biological children who had any chance of facing difficulty. I now know my young biological sister and I were adopted out because we had less than desirable handicaps. I was slightly developmentally delayed physically. Until like 2, my sister required a below-the-knee amputation several months after birth. My parents gave us both up for adoption and kept the children they deemed fit. I really doubt this is not a case of ableism. Both my biological sister and I are actually mathematicians. Clearly, we have the ability to grow up as almost entirely normal individuals. We live in a country that has a very, very strong social safety net and public health care. I highly doubt they wouldn't have qualified for government assistance. I'm not so much upset about my own adoption as I am for that of my younger biological sister. She was already 6 months old when she was adopted out and was adopted out into an extremely abusive family from what it sounds like. Granted, I've only heard secondhand from my biological brother. That clearly isn't the case with me. After speaking with my adoptive grandmother, from what she understands, that was never the case. I never heard anything like that growing up for my own parents. I have a strong intuition that my birth mother is lying. I was developmentally delayed for a very short period of time. I performed at normal and above average levels the rest of my life. I'm average in height now. I have a successful career, live independently, and have a family of my own. My birth parents wouldn't have had to have spent the bulk of their income, as we live in a country with a very, very strong social safety net. I'm not from the United States or Canada. My feelings about my own birth parents are mine to have, and I am 100% within my right to state them. It's wrong to constantly push out children when you chose to adopt out 2 out of 4 of them in a 4-year period. I don't feel bad about saying that. I have empathy for parents of disabled children in countries where resources are not available to them. That is not the case at all in the country in which I live. I don't think people who give up disabled children are evil and heartless. I do think people who constantly have more and more children when their children themselves are pretty much, and then give up the 2 they think are defective are wrong. Multiple relatives have said she's ecstatic how well things are going between my siblings and myself, but she has no desire to ever have contact with me. My biological family has pretty much reintegrated my biological sister, who was also adopted out, back into the family. They first reunited a few years ago. My biological sister is extremely close with all of them. She even lives with our other biological sister. Her and my birth mother attend the same family gatherings, but they do not speak, and it works for them. They have perfunctory contact out of necessity and shared loved ones. They have no personal relationship, and my sister respects that our birth mother does not want to get to know her. I imagine if things unfold in a similar way for me as they have my biological sister, my birth mother, and I will have a similar relationship. I appreciate how hard all of this must be for her, and I want to respect her request for no contact as much as I can, fostering a relationship with the rest of our shared family. I was so angry initially, then I remembered what it was like to be 17, and I am just sad now. From what it sounds like, she has grieved the loss of giving us away, and she's happy with her life the way is without opening up those old wounds. From what my biological sister says, our birth mother is never rude or unkind. Whenever someone crosses a line in regards to forcing her to interact with my biological sister, our birth mother states openly that she isn't comfortable being part of the conversation, removes herself from the scenario, but she never tries to stop other people from talking about things or inviting my biological sister to family gatherings. I think we all process this game in different ways. For her, this may just look like what trying to live healthy looks like. I actually had dinner with her, my birth father, and my husband last night. It was super pleasant. We didn't discuss anything related to our familial relationship, but we talked about hairstyles, television shows, and the like. When I discussed anything related to adoption, she stayed quiet, but smiled, and my brother, father, and I spoke about it. Very excited to be a part of this family. I think age definitely plays a factor. Thank you so much for your kind words. Wishing the best for you and your family.